with your guys' newest album, Something's Gotta Give, which was released on June 28th, it was recorded in Studio 4115.
Yeah.
How long did it take to record that record, and what was that process like of working in Studio 4115, and also just with you guys and the new instrumentation that you incorporated into the record?
So we recorded 13 songs. We recorded a cover, Fortunate Son, that we're going to release later in the year. And then we recorded one song that we ended up cutting from the album. And then the 11 songs that are on the album. We recorded all the meat of the tracks, like bass, guitar, drums, main vocals, organ, piano, in 20 hours. So 13 songs in 20 hours over a 2-day period. And so those were 2 crazy days. My voice was totally shot after that. And then so that was on a Saturday and a Sunday, and then on Monday we had a violinist come in, and she cut her parts in probably an hour or 2. And then the following night we did background vocals probably in 3 or 4 hours. So altogether it was probably like a 24-hour process to cut 13 songs. And so we're definitely proud of that. But yeah, it was all live tracking. So, we have headphones on. We have the BPM, beats per minute set. And we play to that, and everyone's playing at the same time. We're all in separate rooms for the most part. And, we do maybe 3 to 4 takes of each song, and it's pretty easy to tell which one has the best energy or the best performance. So then you pick from that, and then you build off that.
And how was the studio in itself? Just like just recording in there.
Yeah, it was super cool. It had really good vibes. It's an older house in East Nashville, and it's been converted into a studio. So the whole first floor is kind of the performance recording area. They have a drum room with a bunch of drums. They have kind of a acoustic guitar room, and then they have a main tracking room where it's kind of split between pianos, and then the living room with a fireplace, and it sounds great in there. We had candles going the whole time. It was really cool. And then upstairs is kind of 3 or 4 different people rent it out and have like performance creative studios where they do different stuff, not related to the studio. So it's very creative atmosphere, and I think when I walked in, I kind of just was like, this is where we should do the album. It just had an acoustic indie vibe to it, and I think it turned out really well.
So, speaking of the acoustic vibe, giving the acoustic backbone and, again, the incorporation of new instruments into the record, why the transition from previous efforts? Was it the desire for just new experimentation, or coupled with that, was it kind of reflective of where all of you guys are right now musically? Is that just something all of you were kind of agreed upon, like this is something we should do?
I think it was more just the songs I was writing at the time. It was originally just going to be a 3 or 4 song EP, but then I had all these other songs, and I was like, I want to put those out there as well. And it just grew into this whole album. And then, Slice happened to know a violinist who's amazing, and she was able to learn the songs super quick. And then at that point, it was just like full-on Americana, vibe for the whole sound of the album. So we really just bought into that. And I think there's only one song on the album that has electric guitar, and it's the song where I play by myself. So it's doesn't even really have an alternative vibe to it. And I think just given that point in life, those were the songs that I was writing, and we really just bought into trying to make an Americana indie folk acoustic sounding album.
And is this a style that you could see yourself again touching upon?
Yeah, it's been great having that. So like, there's been a couple times within the last couple months where, for example, one show got rained out. We were supposed to play outside. It got rained out, and all the sound gear was on stage still. So Austin was like, we should just play unplugged inside. So we literally had no microphones, no PA. I played acoustic guitar, Slice played accordion, Austin played like super low on his bass, and we just played unplugged. All the new acoustic songs unplugged in the bar. So it was awesome to have that option. And we played a really cool show in Chicago that was very intimate, and at the Elbow Room, played all acoustic, and so it's great having that option. And yeah, I'm always writing, those kind of songs, as well as, the more rock and roll type songs too.
So, on the heels of that question, I've seen in an interview that you stated Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and the Beatles as being influences, and most notably with Pearl Jam's with the realism in their lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
So for you as a songwriter, is Vedder and are there other guys too that have kind of rubbed off on you when you approach to write a song?
Yeah, for sure. I listen to a lot of, he's an Australian singer-songwriter called Xavier Rudd, and he writes more spiritual, reflective songs. And I really dig his lyrics. His lyrics have affected me a lot. Let's see. Yeah, Pearl Jam's lyrics are super influential. Like any downtime in my life, I would just play some of their songs on repeat and just like totally dive into that. One of my favorite bands is out of Philly called The Districts. They have some really deep lyrics in some of their songs. I like the Lumineers a lot. They write a lot of love songs, which is kind of what I do too. So I kind of definitely for the new album, I got a lot of inspiration from the Lumineers, kind of that instrumentation and just their songwriting. Trying to think of who else lyrically. John Butler writes really good lyrics. I've been listening to him quite a bit recently. I mean, there's always new artists coming up that I'll dig a song by them and really dive into the lyrics and see what they're writing about, and kind of borrow stuff from that or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. And for you, what song off of Something's Gotta Give, and you can each go one at a time, answer this, do you enjoy the most and why?
I like Taking My Time. That's my favorite one for sure. I just like the arrangement of it, really, the structure. I love that rest that's in the choruses, and that's my contribution. Yeah, I don't know. I like the way that falls in with the chorus, Taking My Time, and then there's like that definitive hit. So that's the one for me. That's probably my favorite one off the record.
Mine is probably "It's So Lovely." For that track, I ended up doing the background vocal arrangements for it. I sang on the backgrounds, John sang, and we brought in my friend Sam. She sang throughout the whole record and helped with some of the arrangements as well. And for that song, I very much liked the song and the lyrically and musically how the melody flowed. And so I'm a huge Beach Boys fan. They're like my favorite band of all time. So I was kind of thinking in that vein almost, or at least in that spirit, because of how the melody moves and the different parts, because I think it's like three-part harmonies, at least in the bridge and in the verses. I know in the chorus there's the main melody and then two above that too. So I was kind of experimenting with different movement and voicings, and John, Sam, and I did them all in that evening that we overdubbed all the background vocals, and so for that track, I'm very proud of that for that reason, and I do enjoy playing it live as well when we get the opportunity.
Yeah, for me, I guess if I had to pick one, I would pick "This Ain't the Way," just the way it came about. It's every word is 100% true in that song, and so it's about the girl who I had a long-term relationship with, but we were kind of like in a limbo period, and I was hanging out with this different girl, and then things didn't end well there. So it kind of broiled up that emotion again. So it's like the song's about one person, but it was inspired by a different person. I just thought that whole, even though it sucked for me, it was a cool way of coming about the lyrical content for the song. And then originally that was only going to be me and an acoustic guitar, kind of similar to the reprise version where Slice just plays organ on it and I play acoustic guitar. But then I was jamming on it, and Mike, the guy who played drums on the album, started grooving, making a cool drum beat to it. And then Austin came in with the bass, and it just immediately it was one of those songs where it's just like, yeah, it feels good. So we decided to do a full band version of it, and Slice played xylophone on it. He's got that cool piano run that kind of sounds like a banjo in there. So I love all the different sounds in that song, and I think the lyrical content just hits super hard.
I really do like the cadence of Better Days a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my favorite. Really dig that. And, you know, it's funny, you Slice, that you mentioned the Beach Boys influence, because when we were talking earlier about Take the Good and about, like, these songs that are churned out with kind of like an upbeat, like a very positive twist to it, given how how not so bright the backstory might be. That's a lot of what Brian Wilson did in the music with the Beach Boys. I mean, Brian Wilson, troubled early life, but still was able to take that and kind of churn out that positive music.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was just it's just fascinating. I mean, he was deaf in his right ear most of his life, you know, but heard those harmonies. And the thing about the track "This Ain't the Way" is that initially initially there weren't going to be background vocals on them, and then the night we were overdubbing fiddle, John's like, "Hey, come in and lay down these background vocals." Okay, and I'm like, "Okay." So I come in and I layered all 4-part background harmony on the choruses of "This Ain't the Way," and it's the first time I ever done anything like that on my own, and it turned out I was pretty happy with it turned out, and the whole track sounded great, and it just the blend, you know, just getting that, you know, it was just, again, a first time experience for me. But yeah, the thing you were saying about sort of the positive kind of energy and spirit of the arrangement, you know, happy sounding, because I think that's a good thing to sort of present. You know, you're presenting the emotion lyrically and what you're putting out, but you also want to leave listeners with something, you know, kind of satisfying to listen to.
Right on.
Yeah, Better Days. I think that's the most bluegrass?
Yeah, it's like
Bluegrass
the most rhythmic,
vibe,
one.
Sounding song on the whole album. It's got a violin solo in there. Yeah. And that might be the oldest song on the album too. I wrote that probably 2 years ago. So
that was one of the first ones we worked on too.
Yeah,
as we were rehearsing the record.
Yeah, that one's a lot of fun to play. We've been playing it a couple times the last few weeks, and you can see people kind of grooving to it. It's got a good bounce to it, and yeah, it's funny. It's funny you said that's your favorite song, because it seems like someone always has a different favorite song off the album, which is really cool. So I think that
something for everyone
speaks to itself that, you know, all the songs are pretty solid.
In Franklin Hall with Jon Worthy and the Bends, we hope you enjoyed that tune from Lou Reed and Company, Sweet Jane, off 1970 Loaded album. Rest in peace, Lou Reed, of course, and Sterling Morrison. All right, guys, so you know, it was only a matter of time before I had to ask this question, just because I didn't know about this until I started delving into preliminary research. But your guys' 2018 release, Only a Dream, worked with the likes of Lincoln Parish, formerly of Cage the Elephant. Now, I don't want his name being attributed to deter attention from the work, of course, but I'm curious, how did you guys come into contact with him?
You can say his name as much as you want. Bring attention to it.
You got it.
So we knew we wanted to do an album. I'm trying to think when we recorded this album, Only a Dream, in the summer of 2017, and it was kind of like late winter, early spring, and I was starting to look for a place to record it at. And we played a show with my buddy, and I was just telling him, yeah, we're probably going to record soon. He's like, you should check out my friend Lincoln. He used to be in the band Cage the Elephant. And I was just like, okay.
My friend
That
Lincoln.
kind of hit me hard. But
Cage.
he's like, yeah, he's working with a lot of local bands right now. He's got an awesome home studio. So he put me in touch with them. I sent him some of the demos, and he responded super quick. He's like, yeah, man, I dig these a lot. Let's meet up. So I went over to his house. You know, we talked about our different inspirations and different bands we listened to, and we had a lot of the same interests. So we kind of struck up a solid foundation there. And then it was a little awkward. Like he has a manager and an agent, so it's like the business side of it was all worked through them. He just does the music part. So that was like way above anything I'd ever done, working with that type of management firm and stuff like that. But so we got all that worked out, and yeah, we recorded the album. This one was a lot different than the most recent one because we recorded it kind of in segments. We did like 4 songs a weekend. So we would go in on Saturday, record 2 songs, and then Sunday record 2 songs, and then do overdubs maybe that night. And we did that probably 3 or 4 times for the 10 songs. And it was really cool. Like, he was in the live room with us as we were recording, like, getting the energy of the song, and he'd be like, yeah, I really like that performance. And then he owns probably, I don't know, 30 guitars, 20 different amps. So, like, I'd be laying down. I played a lot of the lead guitar on that album, and he also played on half the songs too, which was amazing. I can talk about that in a little bit. But so I'd be playing like a guitar part. He'd be like, "No, switch out the guitar, play this," and he would like set the tone for the song. You know, he'd mess with the volume on the amp or the distortion or whatever. And then so I did that. I must have played 25 of the 30 guitars and 10 different amps for each different part of the song. And so that was really cool. I'd never had that experience before. It's always just like I played my 2 guitars, kind of switched them out. So getting to play all those different sounding guitars was really cool. And he had a baritone guitar that Austin played on the song You Drive Me Insane. That's kind of like the lead riff of the song. And then, like I said, he played on half the songs, which was amazing. Most notably the solo at the end of Please Tell Me. He played slide guitar.
Yeah, I was about to say slide guitar. Right?
Yeah. I remember I was sitting on the ground.
And was that planned or was that a spontaneous thing?
Kind of pretty much spontaneous. Most of his stuff was like, I think I have something for this. Would you mind if I played? So I was sitting on the ground. I think Austin was on the couch, and he pulled out his slide guitar. And we were just like, I remember looking at Austin, like eyes wide, and like, holy shit, he's gonna play the slide. Yeah, and it sounded awesome. Like, that's one of the coolest parts of the album. Yeah, so just I love Cage the Elephant. They're one of my favorite bands. So just getting to work with him was amazing. He's got a really cool engineer guy that really knows his stuff, and I really like the way they mixed it, and I think it sounds great.